they lost funding and closed. Of the 166 medical schools operating in 1904, this trap you can't escape, was designed over 100 years ago. You're ready for the 9 to 5 grind because you've been training for it your entire life. You wake up at 6 a.m. to an alarm you hate. You drag yourself out of bed, shower, grab coffee, and head to a job where you'll spend 8 hours doing work that doesn't fulfill you, making money that barely covers your bills. You come home exhausted, scroll through your phone for an hour, take a pill for your headache or anxiety, and collapse into bed, only to repeat the exact same cycle tomorrow. And here's the terrifying part. This isn't an accident. This life, this system, this trap you can't escape was designed over 100 years ago by one man, John D. Rockefeller. And once you understand how it works, you'll realize why breaking free feels impossible. Let's start with the most shocking part, your education. The reason you spent 12 years sitting in classrooms memorizing information you'd never use, the reason you were taught to follow instructions instead of think critically, the reason school felt more like a factory than a place of learning, all of that was intentional. In 1902, Rockefeller created the General Education Board with an initial $1 million donation, eventually pouring over $180 million into reshaping American education. That's the equivalent of billions today. But here's the thing, he wasn't doing this out of kindness. He had a very specific goal. The General Education Board played a pivotal role in imposing a standardized model of education across the nation. Before Rockefeller, education in America was diverse. Schools taught different subjects, used different methods, and encouraged independent thinking. But Rockefeller needed something different. He needed workers. Obedient, predictable, factory-ready workers who would show up on time, follow orders, and never question the system. Independent and progressive educational methods that encouraged critical thinking and individualism were sidelined in favor of a system designed to produce obedient workers. Think about that for a second. The entire education system, the one that shaped your childhood and determines your future, was literally designed to create compliant employees, not free thinkers. And it worked. Public schools became modeled after factories. Bells ring, you move to the next class. Sit in rows, don't talk, memorize what you're told, regurgitate it on a test, and forget it a week later. You're not learning how to think. You're learning how to obey. By the time you graduate, you've been conditioned for 18 years to accept authority without question, to work within rigid structures, and to believe that success means climbing someone else's ladder. You're ready for the 9 to 5 grind because you've been training for it your entire life. But Rockefeller didn't stop with education. He went after your health too. In 1910, a man named Abraham Flexner, who wasn't even a doctor, published a report that would completely transform American medicine. The Flexner Report was funded by the Carnegie Foundation and written by Abraham Flexner, and to help with the transition, John D. Rockefeller gave many millions to colleges and hospitals. This report declared that natural healing methods, homeopathy, herbal medicine, chiropractic, anything that didn't involve pharmaceutical drugs was unscientific quackery. The report called for the standardization of medical education, whereby only the AMA would be allowed to grant medical school licensure in the US. Here's where it gets sinister. Rockefeller had already purchased part of a massive German pharmaceutical company. He controlled oil, and scientists had just discovered that petrochemicals could be used to create synthetic drugs. 99% of pharmaceutical raw materials and reagents come from natural gas or other petrochemicals. So Rockefeller funded medical schools on one condition: they could only teach drug-based medicine. Through the power of their huge grants, Rockefeller and Carnegie systematically dismantled the previous curricula of medical schools, removing any mention of the healing power of herbs or natural treatments. Schools that refused, they lost funding and closed. Of the 166 medical schools operating in 1904, only 76 existed by 1929. What does this mean for you? It means when you go to a doctor today, you're not getting holistic care. You're getting pills. Headache, here's a pill. Anxiety, here's a pill. High blood pressure, here's a pill. The system isn't designed to make you healthy. It's designed to make you a customer, a lifetime customer who keeps coming back for refills, who never addresses the root cause, who stays just sick enough to need treatment, but never well enough to stop buying. And Rockefeller's pharmaceutical empire profits from every single prescription. But wait, there's more. The 9-to-5 work culture you're stuck in, also Rockefeller. During the Industrial Revolution, Rockefeller's Standard Oil became one of the largest employers in America. He needed millions of workers to run his refineries, his pipelines, his distribution networks. So he helped normalize the concept of wage labor, the idea that you trade your time, your energy, your life for a paycheck that covers your basic needs and nothing more. You work to survive. You survive to work. It's a loop with no exit. And here's the genius of the system. It's self-perpetuating. You need the job to pay for the house, the car, the healthcare, the education for your kids. But the education system trains your kids to enter the same cycle. They'll graduate, get a job, take out loans, buy things they don't need, get sick from stress, take pills to cope, and work until they're 65. The system feeds itself. And Rockefeller built the blueprint. Even your beliefs about success are shaped by this system. You're told that wealth means hard work, that if you're struggling, it's because you're not trying hard enough, that the American dream is achievable if you just grind harder. But the game is rigged. Rockefeller wielded immense power and wealth. And his interest in education was not merely philanthropic, it was a strategic move to ensure the perpetuation of his influence and wealth. The system isn't designed to create millionaires. It's designed to create workers who believe they could be millionaires if they just work a little harder, buy a little more, and never, ever question why the system exists in the first place. So why can't you escape? Because every institution you interact with, schools, hospitals, workplaces, financial systems, was either directly shaped by Rockefeller or influenced by the model he created. You can't opt out of education without limiting your career. You can't avoid the healthcare system without risking your life. You can't refuse to work without losing everything. The Rockefeller system isn't just one piece of society, it is society, and it was built to ensure that people like Rockefeller stay on top, while people like you stay exactly where you are, working, consuming, and never threatening the status quo.